This is Top Accolade Global News Updates. I am Soibifa Jakarich. US President Joe Biden vowed publicly for the first time to withhold weapons from Israel if its forces make a major invasion on Rafah in southern Gaza, while negotiations in Cairo on a ceasefire plan for the enclave were set to continue on Thursday. I made it clear that if they go into Rafah, I am not supplying the weapons. Biden, whose administration has repeatedly asked Israel for its plan to protect civilians in Rafah, told CNN in an interview on Wednesday. Biden acknowledged that US bombs provided to Israel have killed Gaza civilians in the 7-month-old offensive aimed at annihilating Hamas. The comment, Biden's starkest yet, increased the pressure on Israel to refrain from a full-scale assault on Rafah, where hundreds of thousands of Palestinians have sought refuge after fleeing combat further north in Gaza. There was no immediate comment from Israel on Biden's remarks, but Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said the Rafah operation would go ahead. Israel says it must hit Rafah to defeat thousands of Hamas fighters it says are there. Israel kept up tanks and aerial strikes on southern Gaza after moving in via the Rafah border crossing with Egypt, cutting off a vital aid route. Biden has been under pressure from his fellow Democrats and growing campus protests to deter Israel from invading Rafah. The support of Israel has become a political liability as the president runs for re-election. The United States is by far the biggest supplier of weapons to Israel, and it accelerated deliveries from the Hamas attack on October 7th that triggered Israel's offensive in Gaza. Biden said U.S. weapons for Israel's defense for its Iron Dome anti-missile system would continue. U.S. officials confirmed that Washington passed delivery of an arms shipment of 1,800 and 2,000 pounds, that is 707 kg bombs, and 1,700 as well 500-pound bombs to Israel because of the risks to civilians in Gaza. Four sources said the shipment, delayed for at least 2 weeks, involved Boeing-made Joint Direct Attack munitions, which convert dome bombs into precision-guided ones, as well as small diameter bombs. They were part of an earlier approved shipment to Israel, not the recent $95 billion supplemental aid package the U.S. Congress passed in April. Israel's UN ambassador, Gilad Erdan, called that decision very disappointing, but said he did not believe the US would stop supplying arms to Israel. Huawei's latest high-end phone features more Chinese suppliers, including a new flash memory storage chip and an approved chip processor. A teardown analysis showed, pointing to the progress China is making towards technology self-sufficiency. Online tech repair company iFixit and consultancy TechSearch International examined the inside of Huawei's Technologies Pro 7 Pro, finding a NAT-D memory chip they said was likely packaged by the Chinese telecoms equipment makers' in-house chip units, high silicon, and several other components made by Chinese suppliers. These findings have not been previously reported. Huawei's resurgence in the high-end smartphone market after 4 years of US sanctions is being widely watched by both rivals and US politicians, as it has become a symbol of growing US-China trade frictions and China's bid for technology self-sufficiency. The firm also found that Pro 7 phones run on an advanced processing chipset made by Huawei called the Kirin 9010 that is likely only a slightly improved version of the Chinese-made advanced chip used by Huawei's Mate series. Huawei declined to comment. Huawei launched the Pro 7's fourth smartphone models in late April, and the series quickly sold out. Analysts say it will likely take more market share from iPhone manufacturer Apple, while policymakers in Washington are questioning the efficacy of US curbs on the telecom equipment giants. The United States overtook China as Germany's most important trading partner in the first quarter of this year, according to calculations based on official data from the German Statistics Office. Germany's trade with the United States, export and imports combined totaled 3 billion euros, that is $68 billion, from January to March, while the figure for China was just under 60 billion euros, the data showed. In 2023, China was Germany's top trading partner for the 8th year in a row, with volumes reaching 253 billion euros, although that was only a few hundred millions ahead of the US. Germany exports to the US have now risen further due to the robust economy there, while both exports to and imports from China have fallen, and Commerce Bank economist Vincent Starmer explaining the first quarter shifts. Structural reasons are also a factor, he said. Germany has said it wants to reduce its exposure to China, citing political differences and accusing Belgium in its first China strategy announcement last year of unfair practices. But Berlin has been vague on policy steps to reduce dependencies. Germany import of goods from China fell almost 12% year-on-year in the first quarter, while exports of goods to China fell just over 1%, said Jürgen Matthies from German Economic Institute (IW). The fact that the Chinese economy is performing worse than many had hoped, while the US economy exceeding expectations, is presumably contributing to this, said Matthies. The US now accounts for around 10% of German goods exports. China's share has fallen to less than 6%, said. With a clear global economic headwind for the German economic model, a reorientation, also geopolitical motivated, seems to be taking place away from system rival China and towards transatlantic partner US, he added. It is unclear, however, whether this will continue. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol said on Thursday his government's efforts to improve people's lives had fallen short, conceding that his ruling party's crushing election defeat last month reflected voters' assessment of his 2 years in office. In his first press conference in 21 months, Yoon pledged to focus on improving the economy and tackling what he called the national emergency of flagging birth rates over the 3 years he has left in office. South Korea's economy beats most forecast to grow 1.3% in the first 3 months of this year, though living costs have remained stubbornly high despite some progress in tackling inflation. In a new policy push, a government ministry will be set to tackle the record low birth rate and fast aging population, Yoon said in opening remarks from his office. Behind a plague reading, the buck stops here. South Korea's fertility rate, already the world's lowest, maintained its dramatic decline in 2023 as women cited concerns about bearing most of the burden for raising children. Lost career opportunities and the financial cost of raising children are reason to delay childbirth or to not have babies. Yoon's People Power Party suffered a heavy loss in an April 10th vote, which prompted calls for a change in his leadership style and policy direction to salvage a presidency not yet at the halfway mark. Iran will change its nuclear doctrine if Israel threatens its existence, an advisor to Iran's supreme leader said. The latest comment by an Iranian official that raises questions about what Tehran says is its peaceful nuclear program. Tehran has always said it had no plans to obtain nuclear weapons. Western governments suspect that it wants nuclear technology to build a bomb. Its nuclear program has been at the center of a long-running dispute that has led to sanctions. In April, in the middle of a tense standoff with Israel, which is widely believed to have nuclear weapons, a senior Iranian Revolutionary Guard commander also said Israeli threats could prompt Iran to change its nuclear doctrine. Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei was reported as saying by Iran's Student News Network on Thursday. In 2022, the same advisor said Iran was technically capable of making a nuclear bomb but has not yet decided whether to build one. Khamenei, who has the finals say in Tehran's nuclear program banned the development of nuclear weapons in a fatwa or religious edict in the early 20s. He reiterated that in 2019, saying that building and stockpiling nuclear bombs was wrong and using it is harmful or religiously forbidden. But Iran's then intelligence minister said in 2021 that Western pressure could push Tehran towards nuclear weapons. In his last comments, Karazi said, in the case of an attack on our nuclear facilities by the Zionist regime, our deterrent will change, using a term Iranian official used to refer to Israel. Iran and Israel have long been arch enemies, but was worse for decades. A shadow war erupted into open confrontation in April when Tehran launched about 300 missiles and drones against Israel in retaliation for a suspected Israeli strike on its embassy compounded in Damascus. That is the size of Top Accolade Global News Update. You can follow us on our social media platforms as displayed on your screen. Happy Thursday.